Thinking about demonstration of EPR steering using single photon path entanglement and displacement-based detection.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I would like to talk about single photon path entanglement. Why you are testing on single photon path entanglement? First of all, it's because you use only single photon. And to create this entangled state, you just need a 50-50 beam splitter to have a maximally entangled state. And compared to the previous presentation, now this entangled state is erratic. So you announce the presence of this entangled state. The other advantage is scalable. It's easy to increase the number of output. We just need to add more and more beam splitter. So you can increase to infinity if you want, if you have enough material in your laboratory. And the other advantage is easy to create a real network, because to do a bed state measurement, you just need two sources and a 50-50 beam splitter and two detectors. If you have one detection, you have a bed state measurement. So with these 3 points, you see that single photon entangled state is very interesting. The main problem, if you use standard photon detector, what you observe is just a click or no click. You have no information about the coherence. And this is the main problem. How to measure the coherence of single photon without recombining the two paths like a standard interferometer. And now I would like to answer to this question. To do this, the idea is to use displacement-based detection. So to perform a displacement-based detection, you just need your input state and a local oscillator, which has exactly the same property of your input state, with a beam splitter with a transmittivity R and T. Like this, you perform a displacement operator, which is just d alpha, and this displacement operator appears only if you have the reflectivity of your beam splitter very small compared to 1. And to perform the detection, you just need a single photon detector. And if you do the calculation about this scheme, what you obtain is a matrices of this form, where R is the amplitude of the local oscillator, and theta is just the phase of your local oscillator, compared to the photon. The photon has no phase. And this is interesting if you have 2 arms, like in this experiment. But now you have these matrices, and what is important is what you measure experimentally, because we are most of the time experimentalists. So what you observe during your experiment is just the probability of having no click and click. And this is directly the trace of this operator with your input state. So you just take the probability of having no click minus the probability of having a click. And this is what you measure physically in your experiment. So now, we need to find what is this matrices, because it's a complex matrix, but we want to translate in terms of polymatrix. And the polymatrix is just sigma z, sigma x, sigma y. So sigma z is very easy to obtain. You just need to remove the current state. It's just the probability to have a detection or no detection when you have no current state. So this is alpha equals 0. And now, when you increase alpha, look, you start at alpha equals 0, you increase alpha, and now you pass from the z basis to the x basis. And we have an optimal point when this term is equal to 1. Because when this term is equal to 1, these two diagonal term is equal to 0, and you have close to sigma x or sigma y. To pass from sigma x to sigma y, you just need to change the phase of your local oscillator. Look, you have access to the polymatrix just by adding or removing the current state and changing the phase of the current state. And this is the idea. So now, this is the principle. You have your single photon, your 50-50 mixed splitter, and your 2 displacement with the 2 single photon detectors. Now, I would like to start by explaining how you create this single photon based on heralding single photon source, how you perform the displacement operator, how you generate this current state, how you characterize entanglement, and to finish, how we could go to device-independent entanglement. So let me start with heralded single photon source. So the idea is to use what you want is a source with high heralding probabilities. This means that when you have a RI, the probability to have a photon at the output is very high. Pure state, narrowband, and at telecom. So this means that you need a high coupling efficiency and low excess loss. But you need to reduce all the loss inside the experiment. Pure state is to realize a network, to increase the number of sources and to have interference between the different sources. And narrowband is directly related to application for fiber network over long distance. Look, we want narrowband to avoid the problem of synchronization when you have femtosecond photon and it's broadband. Now this is the 4 claims that we want to achieve. And to do this, the idea is to use spontaneous parametric tone conversion to realize an error-acting single photon source, where this process is defined by this equation, which is quite horrible, but what is interesting is just this joint amplitude, which defines all the nonlinear process. I don't want to write this equation, but just to define how the different elements of this equation, and how you can obtain pure photon and high coupling by playing with this term. First of all, I would like to talk about high coupling. And the high coupling depends on 2 parameters. First, the pump waste and the collecting waste. Now, the pump waste, if you just observe the joint amplitude in terms of k vector for the signal and angular photon, what you observe by tracing all the other modes is this line, where in this direction is directly given by the pump waste, and this direction is given by the phase matching condition. And what you want to obtain a high coupling efficiency is a strong spatial correlation. This means that the focus parameter go to 0. The beam waste is large enough to obtain a plane wave inside the crystal. Why? Because when you project one photon inside a single mode fiber in a Gaussian mode, the other photon is also in Gaussian mode, just by phase matching conservation. And this is the first requirement, a strong spatial correlation. But you have a problem in this crystal, because now you need to play with the collection waste. And if you observe the amplitude, the joint amplitude as a function of the frequency of the irregular photon and the k vector of the irregular photon, you could observe that you have like you have some correlation between the angle of emission and the wavelength. This means that if you are outside the angle of emission, if you collect everything, you could have some information about the angle just by observing the wavelength. This means that it's not single mode. It is not in the pure mode. And it's not possible to couple this state perfectly inside the single mode fiber. So you need to select your collection angle in such a way that the wavelengths don't give any information about the angle of the emitted photon. Like this, you have only one mode, and you could couple perfectly the photon inside the fiber. So this now is your 2 constraints. First, strong spatial correlation, and no spatial wavelength correlation. And if you satisfy these 2 requirements, normally you could achieve 100% of coupling efficiency. Now, you need also spectral purity. The simplest way to do spectral purity is just, here is just the joint spectral intensity. What we could do is just place a filter, and if you place a filter, we could decrease the size of the filter in such a way that you generate pure photon. And to measure this, you just need to place 2 detectors at the output and observe the G2, just perform a G2 measurement. And what you observe, when the filter is large, the G2 is close, the purity is close to 0. This means that the G2 is close to 1, because the G2 is directly given by 1 plus 1 over k, where k is the number of modes. And now when you decrease the filter, we reach 1, which is the maximal purity that you can obtain. Look, in this region is equivalent to a current state distribution, and in this region is a thermal state. This means that you have only 1 mode. Look, this is one solution, but you need to add some loss inside the set. but just on the RLP part. You could also play with directly with the phase matching condition, and one solution is to use a picosecond laser with a PP crystal and to adapt the length of this crystal as a function of the pulse duration of your laser. And for example, for a 2 picosecond laser with a 3 centimeter crystal, we could achieve, we could arrive to generate photon close to a pure state. But we have some condition also inside in the length that you use, because as I mentioned before, you angle of collection determines the wavelength of your photon also. And you have an optimal. Here I just plot the collection waste as a function for the red curve is represented the spectral purity, and for the blue curve, the coupling efficiency that you could achieve. And you see that the purity increase but decrease when the collection weight increase. But the coupling efficiency only increases. Okay, you have an optimal point between purity and coupling efficiency. And if you use a beam width of 200 micron, what you observe is you reach purity, a spectral purity close to 90%, with a coupling efficiency close to 90%. And this is directly the joint spectral intensity measurement, and you see it's close to a perfect sphere. To characterize this, the only way is to perform a on-dip measurement to certify that you have only one mode. And the idea is to use a double pass configuration, like this could generate one pair in this direction, one pair in the other direction, and observe a 2 photon interference between the 2 signal photons generated in the 2 directions, or 1 signal and 1 idler. In one, when you perform between the 2 signals, you just observe the purity, and when you perform between the signal and the idler, you observe the undistinguishability between the 2 photons. And what you obtain is these 2 interference with more than 90% visibility, for a coupling of 90%, and an undistinguishability greater than 90%, which is quite good. Now, you need this displacement operation. This means that you need to generate a weak coherent state with exactly the same property of the single photon. This means that you need the same polarization, spatial mode, wavelengths, and bandwidth. Polarization and spatial mode, this is easy to ensure. You just need to use PBS and single mode fiber. But for the wavelengths, it's more complex. The idea is to use the same nonlinear process, but seed via a continuous laser. Like this, you seed the nonlinear interaction to observe different frequency generation, which is a stimulate effect. And to observe the fact that you generate a current state, the idea was you just place a filter to obtain a G2 close to 2, and after you increase the seed to see the decrease in terms of G2 that go to 1. And 1 is 1, this means that you have a coherent state. Okay, in this configuration, you observe that with a seed, with 50 photons for the seed, we obtain close to 1. At the end, we are more than 5,000 photons at the input. Now, you need to satisfy these 2 conditions. This is the spectrum of our single photon. And what we observe is exactly the same spectrum after the DFG, at the output of the DFG. And this is just done because you just stimulate one part of the nonlinear interaction. And to prove that the 2 photon is perfectly undistinguishable, we could perform a 2 photon interference by just combining the single photon generated by the single photon source and the coherent state on the 50-50 beam splitter. And what you observe is a dip where the visibility is only limited by the photon statistics, because now we have a single photon source and a coherent state. And here is 55%, and in blue is a theoretical prediction. Now we have everything to perform the displacement operation, you just need to replace the 50-50 beam splitter by a PBS. Like this, the photon is have an orthogonal polarization compared to the current state. And to perform the displacement, you just need an alpha plate and a PBS with 2 single photon detectors. Now you have all the resources to characterize entanglement. And the first experiment that you perform is revealing entanglement using a witness. And this is a witness that you exploit, where you have only 2 measurements, one with a displacement and one without displacement. And what you need to measure, you need to measure everything without post-selection. When you have an array, you just consider all the detections that you have. And the entanglement witness, if you work in terms of probability, is just the probability to observe a click, click, no click, no click, click, no click, and no click, click, as a function of alpha and with alpha equals 0. And this is just the histogram. When you have alpha equals 0, you see that the bigger probability is a vacuum, and sometimes you have 1 click in one arm, 1 click in the other arm, that you will never have 2 clicks because you are in the single photon source region. And when you have the coherent state, you see that everything changes. So now you could use this witness to characterize the entanglement. And the idea is to just use this witness minus what you could observe if you have a separate state, and to bound this inequality. Okay. If this term is positive, this means that you have an entangled state. The first experiment, we just would like to test the robustness to the degree of entanglement, just by changing at the input the alpha plate to generate a state where the amplitude of probability can be changed. And here is what you observe. Like if you have a 50-50 equivalent to a 50-50 beam splitter, this means the maximally entangled state, you have the maximal variation, and when you decrease, you observe variation until 0,1. In 0,1 you have no variation because all the photons go only in one arm. This means that this state is robust against the degree of entanglement. You could also test as a function of the loss by adding some additional loss at the input. And what you observe is that this entangled state is robust against loss. And normally it could reach 0 when you have zero transmission if you have no noise inside your detector. We could also increase go to multi-party entangled state by adding only a 50-50 beam splitter and playing with this alpha plate to have the same probability on each arm. And if you do this, you could develop a new inequality, and you violate this inequality also by 10 standard deviation. Now, this is only available if you trust all the measurement device. But as the previous presentation, we would like to go to device independent. This means that you don't trust at all the 2 detection devices. But this is quite challenging because the efficiency needs to be bigger than 82%. Look, you want to do something in between, which is more or less gray box. This means that you trust half of the setup, but not completely the setup. More precisely, the idea is to use a semi-device independent scenario where Alice is a black box. You don't know what Alice do, and Bob, you know perfectly the measurement device. And the idea is that Alice remotely steers the state of Bob, this time by performing a local measurement on a shared quantum state rule. And now you could say that the state is unsteerable if Bob can, if the state can be created by a local strategy without entanglement. If you just observe this subspace, you could define a space that is unsteerable, a space that is steerable, and the objective is to define an inequality to observe if you are steerable or unsteerable. And this inequality is of this form where you adjust all the probability PA knowing X and Y and some coefficient. And this coefficient depends on the alpha that you set on the Bob apparatus. Without going into detail about this calculation, if you have some question, you have Jonathan Brask inside the room that he did this calculation. So now, the objective is to violate this inequality. One constraint is that the detection efficiency needs to be greater than 43%. Now, the idea is to use the same source with a setup fully fibered, with the two displacement operator, which is just performed by a piezo that is applied pressure on the fiber to rotate the polarization. And now the characterization is you have a source with a purity greater than 90%, a coupling efficiency between 80 and 95%, a detector from the NIST with 80% between 1 at 80 and the other one at 85%, and a linear polarized beam splitter that you have a transmission of 92%. This means that the global efficiency is 52%. And this is a system that performs the rotation of polarization. It's just piezo that apply pressure on the fiber to rotate the polarization inside the fiber. And this is controlled by the computer. This is all the loss. You have the coupling efficiency, 85%. The splice between the fiber, it is 99%. You have some connectors that you could not avoid because you need to align the polarization between the source and the polarization controller. You have 4 connectors with 98%, a beam splitter with 98%, the piezo with 98%, the PBS 92%, and the single photon detector. And with this, when you change the phase between Alice and Bob, what you observe is an oscillation. Look, P minus is a P00. Look, the event when you have no click on Alice and Bob, click on Alice, no click on Bob, no click on Alice, click on Bob, and 2 clicks. And you could see that you have a perfect oscillation, where the visibility is not so good, but it's not important. What is important is to violate this steering inequality, and for that we just use this point where you have a rule. And what you observe is a violation. Now this is just the difference between what you expect and what you measure, and you clearly violate, and what you predict theoretically is this violation. But now you have a small difference between the two, but everything is inside 0 bar. What is interesting is just you could reconstruct this density matrix, which is the density matrix expected is represented here. And from this oscillation, you could reconstruct the density matrix, and you see that the density matrix is very close 1 to 0, 0. Look, now you prove that you demonstrate that it's possible to observe entanglement with tomography, steering, and the objective is to go to bed, closing all the loopholes. And it's more or less what is done for the other observable, for example, polarization, single photon entanglement. And in polarization, you see that the steering inequality is violated in 2012, and the Bell inequality in 2015. For the continuous variable with the single photon, we have no, for the moment, solution to go to device independent. And with a discrete, with a single photon detector, we could normally violate. But to violate, why is interesting? Because if you compare the randomness that you could extract from the polarization integral state compared to path integral state, you could see that you could extract less, the maximal violation is smaller for the polarization integral state, but is more tolerance to loss. For the path integral state, you have a bigger violation, but is less tolerance to loss. And this is one advantage and an inconvenience also. And the main problem, if you consider, if you want to go to communication, long distance communication, if you have only 10 kilometers of fiber, it's equivalent to 60% of transmission. So to go far away, you need to use amplifier. This means a quantum teleportation scheme to amplify the signal. And the idea was to use a second photon and to perform a delta state measurement between the raw in and this single photon, where you change the transmittivity of the first bit. Like this, you have the state at the input, the state of the output, and what you observe is you have this term here, which is a gain. And if this gain is equal to 1, this means that you have a teleportation scheme, but this gain could be greater than 1. And we already performed experiment with this. And if you had this amplifier in front of Bob, we could compensate the loss inside the frontal. And what you observe is you could compensate the loss for a transmission, no, a loss of 0.9. This means that you have a gain greater than 100. What's the next step is to use displacement detection with heralded photon amplifier to perform a device-independent quantum key distribution based on this system. Thank you for your attention.
Questions for the speaker?
So you mentioned in your outlook that you want to perform device-independent QKD. Well, you just said that you cannot violate Gaussian inequality. So how does this?
No.
Maybe I missed the point.
You, in principle, if you use homotime detection with a strong current state and 50-50 pinch filter, you could not violate the band inequality. In this configuration with small displacement and single photon detector, you could violate band inequality.
Other questions? Okay, let's thank the speaker again. So one announcement before we break, which is that we're going to have a poster session after the last talk today. So if you have a poster,